Hello, you beautiful people. How are you? Welcome to Monday. Today I'm talking about a video that I did recently where the emissaries were asking the emissaries, and it was about talking about contrast and good and bad and how we're here in a cycle. Okay, so I just want to talk about some of the reactions that I had to that video, and I talked to the emissaries about the reactions. I'll tell you all about it on the other side. So the video that I did about asking the emissaries about the mud flood, it was titled. For whatever reason, the intro that explained what that was about disappeared off the video. I don't know where it went to. So the video kind of just started without really any explanation. However, some of the responses that I got, some people were a little bit upset with the content. Why? Because the content was saying that we're in this cycle of good and bad, and that to understand good, we've got to experience bad. Okay, and it's almost a cliche, isn't it? You know, to understand what happiness is, you've got to know what unhappiness is. Otherwise, you can't understand what happiness is. And then, you know, if you read Neil Walsh's books, the Conversations with God, at the beginning, it was all about that God couldn't experience its own self because there was no contrast, and the idea was that that energy split itself off and sent itself off so that it could multiply experience itself. Yeah, so you get this kind of contrast. So that's the premise of it, and that's what the emissaries were saying. But some people were going, I don't want this contrast, and I don't want to be here, and I'm stuck here, and this, I didn't choose this, and all of that. Yeah. So I talked to the emissaries about it, and I said to them, you know, that got a bit of a reaction. So what do you think? And they said this. The very first thing that we must understand is that we've chosen to be here. And I'm going to come on to that later on about how that helps us. But they said we've chosen to be here. And they said we're not prisoners on this earth. We're not prisoners here. Now, there's a lot of talk about this. A lot of talk about, oh, we're stuck in this karmic cycle. We can never get out, and it's a trap, and even the baddies actually have created it, and they want us to stay away from they put a false light, and we go to that, and we get sucked in again. And I've heard all of these things. I don't know if it's true. Certainly that's not what the emissaries say. They said that we choose every time that we leave this place, we choose again to come here. We choose our new contract, we choose what it is that we're going to be working on, and it's always based on two things. Based on the karma that we have to deal with, that we want to get rid of, and also on the learning lesson that we want to also get. So there are two. I see it like this, and this is what they've explained. The first half of our life, the idea, the first bit, is for us to get through the karma, and then the second bit is to actually, learn those lessons and then start to live our life as an authentic person, to be who we really want to be. Yeah. So it's kind of like balancing out and then moving forward, because the second half is taking you up to the next level. That's the idea. So this one's, balancing out the old stuff and then getting yourself to a new level. Unfortunately, what happens is some people don't get through that, and they have to keep repeating it over and over again for the rest of their lives. And then they have to go back and, they realize that they're going to have to go back and do that again. Okay? But they agree. We agree to do that. So the emissary said the cry that comes from people when they think about this, it's not the higher self that's crying out. The higher self is completely on board with everything that's happening. It's the 3D part of us. And let me give you an example of that. I remember reading, I think it was a Dolores Cannon book, and about somebody who was Joan of Arc, when they went back as a past life, Joan of Arc. Okay, and they were talking about the fact that they were on the stake to be burned, and they left the body. and they watched their body getting burned from afar, okay? And they said the body was screaming, but that was just the body. I wasn't there, okay? And that stuck with me, and this is kind of what the emissaries are referring to, that the body that's screaming, saying this isn't fair, I want out of this isn't right, it's the body, it's the 3D thing. The part of us, that part of us that's linked, that higher self, it's absolutely cool with all of this. You know, and I found that, how do I know that? Every single higher self experience that I've guided somebody through has always said that. Everything's as it should be, everything's fine, you're in the right place, just keep doing what you're doing, okay? So it's kind of like that reaction, that knee-jerk reaction is our body knee-jerking, that's all. So I said to the emissaries, so if we're not trapped here, can we choose not to come back? Can we choose to just not come back on the earth? And they said, absolutely. If you don't want to, you don't have to come back. But they said, but you then must work out that karma somewhere else in another realm. But there are options. There are places that you can go to work out that karma. You don't have to come back down to earth. But it was kind of like in a jokey fashion, but if you want to do it quickly, come down to earth. I think this is speed karma. This is the speed karma balancing place. I think it probably takes a bit longer in the other realms, but what does it matter? Because time doesn't exist there. So, in the blink of an eye. But yeah, it's an option that we have. What happens is that when we get to the other side, we are the higher self again. We are in touch with all of that and in touch with those feelings, which is everything's as it should be, just keep doing what you're doing. So what happens is, of course, on the other side we say, yeah, I want to go back, of course, because we're not attached to that 3D heaviness, that vibration, and so everything seems like a piece of cake. Yeah, and then we come down and go, what the fuck have I done? Why I've done this again? Why have I done this? Why do I keep doing this? Well, because on the other side, it's very different. However, I want to leave you with something. We must believe that we have chosen to be here. We must. Why? Because when we believe truly in our hearts that we have chosen to be here, we become the victor. When we believe that we haven't got a choice, that we shouldn't be here, that it's not fair, we become the victim. Right? So you can either be a victor or a victim. What happens is the victors win. The victors prevail. The victims lose. That's why they're victims. And so what happens is this: if where we choose to put ourselves dictates how we feel about where we are. When you know that you've chosen to be here, it makes it so much easier. It makes it very easy. Well, I chose. When you take on that responsibility, it becomes easy. When you stay as a victim, it's hard. The whole thing's hard from beginning to end. From beginning to end. Somebody who runs a marathon, 26 miles, and has practiced, and they've decided to join that marathon, they enjoy the whole thing. It's tough, but they enjoy it. And they get to the end, they go, yeah, look what I did. Yeah. And then imagine that somebody's forced to walk 26 miles and they don't want to. Can you imagine how grueling those miles are? Or forced to run it. So exactly the same experience changes according to your perception of whether you have chosen to be there or not. Now, just the last thing. It's a very useful belief. Remember, beliefs don't have to be true. Beliefs don't have to have anything to do with the truth. But if you believe that you've chosen to be here, it's going to help you. It's a resourceful belief. And I don't want to get into, beliefs and how false they are. It doesn't matter. There isn't a belief that's really true. We don't know. It's just a belief, and you can change them. So if you want to help yourself in this life, Believe that you've chosen to be here, and it'll make everything easy. Yeah? Why not? What have you got to lose? And then when you get to the other side, you'll know. And maybe you'll say, hey, oh, well, Gordon was right. Yeah? Or maybe you'll go, well, Gordon, he was talking out of his arse because, look, it's not right. I don't know. We'll find out when we get to the other side. But I've got a funny feeling that it might be true. Have a beautiful week, and I'll see you later on. Bye-bye. I love you all.